Hey, incoming freshmen, this is Mr. Reed next door. I am the high school counselor, and I want to quickly go through, for you parents that maybe weren't in the same classroom as I was with your students this last week, as I went in and did a brief overview about high school registration and high school course requests. I want to give you a quick overview of what your student came home with so that you have a little bit of an understanding of what they heard, but also kind of what the process looks like regarding course requests at the high school level. So I went in and gave a brief introduction to the high school, or to the middle school 8th graders about coming over to high school. We covered a lot of different stuff, some information about how to be successful, information about what to expect, but I also went through this packet, and they all got a copy of this. There's also copies of this available in PDF format on the school's website, on the counseling area of the high school side of the website. So please check that out. It's under the course requests tab, and there's a freshman PDF of this form in case, like many students do, lose this, or if you want an extra copy for yourself, you can print as many as you would like from the website itself. There's a couple things I want to highlight on this packet that I want to make sure you're aware of, because it is fairly important. I did go through somewhat quickly with students, but the good news is for you as parents and students, I want to calm your nerves a little bit about high school. The 9th grade course selection process is not very complex. Okay, we put students into a lot of specific classes and do a lot of things on purpose because every single student at the high school level starts on a college prep pathway and a track. So I get a lot of panicked emails from parents and students saying, am I going to take the right classes? How do I get into college? Am I doing the right thing? You are. Okay, so the options that you have to choose from, there's not a bad option for you to choose. Okay, as I go through this packet, I will give you a few suggestions, and this is the suggestions that I talk to students with. And I told students as well that I will not be able to see them as 8th graders until about after spring break. Unfortunately, my duties as the high school counselor and the students here at the high school deserve my attention right now in this very busy time of the spring. We're also doing this with the current high school students. So I understand that there is probably a desire to possibly come in and meet with me. I appreciate the patience as I focus on the students who are actually on my caseload at this point in time. And I promise I will get to you guys probably around spring break. I'll be able to open it up for 8th graders once a little bit more time gets added to my plate. So let's jump into this real quick. I'm going to do this in hopefully less than 5 minutes to get you in and out of this video tutorial. So obviously, you got your cover page. As you flip the page over, this first sheet is a quick introductory letter from me. Okay, there's some pieces of information you need to know. Like, for example, I'll be back in the 8th grade towards the very end of February. I believe it's February 27th and February 28th to take their course requests. And again, we are pre-assigning certain classes to students, so they're really only picking 2, maybe 3 different electives. All right, so here's the information that you need to read, and at the bottom, I told the students down here, they actually need to complete this form once they've actually read this and showed this to you as well as a parent, plus have had a discussion about what courses they might want to take. Okay, and again, these are course requests. They are not building their schedule at this point. I am actually going to be the one to build their schedule. These course requests let us know what courses are going to be in demand so we can actually build our overall schedule before we even assign students to certain classes. This just lets us know that you guys are in the know and have had a conversation about that. So please do read this packet and sign this and return this to Ms. Morgan before that February 27th date. If you flip the page over, this is our add drop policy. Okay, and this is an important document at the high school level because, and I told the students, ignorance is not an excuse. Okay, this packet and this policy will be upheld whether or not you think you know about it or you don't. Okay, we do have an add drop policy here at the high school, meaning you have a certain time frame to change classes, and that's at the beginning of the school year. So typically it's about 3 weeks at the beginning of the school year that you have to decide whether or not the class is right for you. Naturally, there's things that might prevent us from changing a class that you might want, whether it's a requirement, whether it's not, if there's space in another class you want to add, and so on. So as we get a little bit later into the year, it gets a little bit more challenging to possibly change your classes, but it is definitely not impossible. After that 3 weeks, you can read some of the consequences that will be lasting. Those things go on your transcript. That is your resume of your high school experience. So please make sure you understand that. It takes a very, very extenuating circumstance to actually receive an administrative pass on this policy. So please just make sure you fully understand that. On this next page, you'll see our graduation requirements in brief. Okay, so it goes over all the different requirements for your high school diploma from California. One thing I like to highlight is the college requirements are very closely aligned, but there are subtle differences, and I'll show you where you can learn a little bit more about that as well. If you flip the page over, what you'll see next is our North Tahoe High School Honors and AP Advanced Placement is AP. That's going to be something that students start possibly being able to take typically in their sophomore year. Agreements. All right, so this is something that if your student is considering in 9th grade taking Honors English 9, they should review this, as should you, because this lays out the expectation. There are significantly more expectations in that Honors English 9 class than our Standard English 9 course. Okay, so please make sure that students know what they're getting into. And on the other side, the real one that you need to pay attention to as a 9th grader is this language arts section. So please make sure that you read that. That is the only honors course available to 9th graders. So please understand that form. Flipping the page over one more time, what we are going to see is kind of the big piece of this form, and this is kind of like your cheat sheet to select your courses. Okay, this is going to go over all the specific requirements you really have to choose from. All right, these 4 yellow boxes at the top, these are 4 of the classes that we will automatically assign to your student. Okay, we're going to assign a certain level, and then if the student decides to have a different class, for example, we will assign all students Integrated Math 1, and we will assign all students English 9. When I meet with a student, and based on the teacher's recommendations from the 8th grade, I will then go back and change those courses to either Honors English, Integrated Math 2, or both. Okay, so if you see those somewhere, don't worry about it. We're going to make changes as that goes. So basically, your student can actually just go through and circle or highlight or make little stars or whatever to select which classes they want to go. Couple reminders. Most students are going to be selecting 6 classes. Okay, so we're going to have 6 courses throughout the course of the year. The main difference is 2 things. So number 1 is going to be if your student is an athlete. Okay, if your student is an athlete and they play 2 sports typically throughout the year, or ongoing sports that are proctored or oversaw or coached by someone who would be considered essentially a professional. Okay, someone who has credentials that allow them to teach that. It can't just be skateboarding and mountain biking. It has to be an organized sport with a professional coach that oversees the activity. They can choose to sign up for our independent study PE health class. And what that is students can participate in outside sports to be able to access their PE health component of the class through a potential sport or activity that they do on an ongoing basis throughout the year. Okay, the easiest way to accomplish that is by playing 2 school sports and using that activity to count towards your PE requirements. Okay, so by playing 2 school sports, you can actually use that and not have to necessarily log a ton of hours. You can use other activities like having a personal trainer, ski teams, stuff like that, so that's not school associated. The documentation is just a little bit more complex because you will have to log your hours and activity. The health component is the same for all students, so you will have to do the health work, and that does add an academic load to that schedule, so you will technically have 7 courses in the year. But that opens up opportunities to take things like maybe a foreign language, career technical education course, and an art course, where many times that PE course will take an elective slot. Okay, and I say electives because that is really what PE is, art is, band is. Okay, so either way that you go, just make sure that your student can make a commitment to play those sports. It's something that if they do not end up doing that, they will fail PE or health. Okay, so I really want to make sure you understand that fully. So as you go down, you can select the different things. The other side of the coin with the potential of not having those 6 classes is if your student is going to be doing the Ski Academy program. There's a very specific program that is targeted towards our skiers or people that are playing or participating in highly intense extracurriculars. So sometimes we have dancers or BMX bikers as well. They have the opportunity to have more of a flex schedule, meaning they're going to take typically 4 classes while here at high school, here at the brick and mortar school, and then they'll have 2 periods throughout the year. And it is a whole year program, and it does not just happen, December through April. It happens the whole year that students will take 4 classes here at school, and then 2 classes typically, possibly 3, through the independent study program, either at Coldstream, through approved online coursework, later in high school, potentially Sierra College, and there are different options that we can look at on an individual basis. Those students they would still select 6 classes, but they would select which 4 they think they would like to have potentially here at the school, plus 2 Ski Academy periods that you might see there. Okay, so please make sure that you do that. Here are the suggested kind of course progressions that I will give you just to have you have an idea. All right, so all 4 of these classes at the top, those are going to be 4 of your essential core classes for students that are going to take PE and health here at school, so not independent study PE. You're going to pick those 4 classes. You have 2 classes remaining. Okay, what that means is, and we suggest, and what I suggest to tell your students is to keep the college possibilities open. I do suggest each 9th grader select world language. Okay, and that's either going to typically be your Spanish 1 if you don't know any Spanish, or Spanish 3 for Spanish speakers if you speak Spanish natively or went through the district's immersion program. Okay, very rarely do we have anybody looking at Spanish 2, but if that's the case, feel free to reach out via email and we can talk about that more. And then typically you have 1 more slot to select either a visual performing art, say for example our drama class, our music production course, any of our CTE pathways courses, so that's going to be our culinary or cooking programs and our engineering programs. Any of our band programs could be available as well. So you have 1 of those choices. So typically you're not going to be able to choose culinary and band, you might have to choose both, which sometimes creates a little bit of a benefit of doing independent study PE health, because then you can have another option to choose from. In that circumstance, you're taking independent study PE health, you're going to choose all 4 up here, just like everybody else. You are also going to probably want to select a world language. That is highly suggested. Okay, and then you have really 2 more classes because you're choosing independent study PE health to be independent study. Okay, so that doesn't take one of those 6 time frames that you have in your given day. So that means you could select band or an art program. So taking a visual or performing art is suggested as well. Plus getting a head start in our CTE, which is a graduation requirement, that career technical education program. Because there are multiple levels of this pathway, you can take it if you like it, you can keep pursuing that pathway. We have awards for students to complete certain things in the different pathways, plus it's a great thing that helps you understand potential career opportunities and college pathways. So you can also choose that as well. Okay, and then our skiers, you're going to pick the 4 classes you think you might want to take, select 2 ski academy programs, and that's it. When I come back in February, this is always a nice thing to have because you can just pull this out. I'm just going to ask you, I literally have 1 to 2 minutes with each student. It's not going to be a full-on counseling session. I do apologize in advance. It's going to be pretty quick because I have 2 days to get this stuff from you. Like I said, after spring break, I'm very happy to sit down and make meetings and go over some of this stuff more in depth. I am able to make changes after that date because I am in charge of that. So please don't hesitate to make an appointment after spring break happens. And I'm happy to sit down and kind of discuss this. We will also start working with you guys very closely in 9th grade. So I hope that this kind of explains a little bit about what you guys got at home and helps you guys as you're figuring out what to take as a 9th grader here at North Tahoe High School. Once again, I want to ease your nerves that don't worry, we've got you. We do this with hundreds of students each year, and we have students going to the biggest and best is not the right word, but biggest and the right colleges that they really want to go into without any problems, and they all start on this same pathway. So anything is possible with how we're going to start you in 9th grade, so please don't let the stress get to you about high school. We've got you. Trust us. We'll take you through the process. So just please come back on February 27th with this stuff and information at hand with your student, and we look forward to seeing you potentially at the parent orientation night coming up in a couple weeks. Thank you for watching. Once again, my name is Jeff Ream. I'm the high school counselor here at North Tahoe High School. My email address is jream@ttusd.org. It's also found at the very bottom of some of these pages down here. Thank you for watching. I look forward to working with you and your children.